Let me ask you something. Have you ever sat down, all ready to finally read a book, only to look up an hour later and realize you've just been scrolling on your phone? Yeah. If you feel like your ability to just sit and focus on a book has kind of vanished, trust me, you are not alone. So today, we're going to dig into why this is happening to all of us, and more importantly, what we can actually do about it. Remember this feeling? Just that calm, cozy feeling of getting totally lost in a good book? For a lot of us, that feels like a lifetime ago. Because our reality, well, it's a lot more like this, right? A constant, chaotic storm of notifications and screens all fighting for a piece of our attention. It is a digital tug of war, and honestly, it's exhausting. I bet this sounds familiar. You know, you start the year, New Year's resolution, I'm gonna read one book a month. It sounds so doable. But then, life happens, and by the time December rolls around, you've maybe finished two. And look, this isn't just some random example. It's what so many of us go through. It's a sign that our best intentions are being completely steamrolled by something much bigger. And that feeling of failing, it's not just in your head. No, this is a real measurable trend that's happening on a massive scale. So let's take a quick look at the actual evidence. Okay, so check out this chart from Gallup. It shows the average number of books Americans read each year. And if you look back at the early 2000s, say between 1999 and 2005, the average was pretty steady, right around 18 books a year. But then, well, you can see for yourself what happens to that line. It's just a slow, steady slide downwards. And this is where we landed in 2021. The average dropped all the way down to 12.6 books. Now, that's more than a 5-book drop per person. It really shows a massive shift in how we spend our time over the last couple of decades. But you guys, this is the most shocking stat of all. In 2023, nearly half of all adults in the US did not finish a single book. Just let that sink in for a second. It means that if you managed to read just 1 or 2 books last year, you were already way ahead of about half the country. It's wild. So what on earth happened? Why is this going on? Well, it turns out our attention spans aren't just disappearing into thin air. There are some really powerful forces out there, basically waging a war for our focus. Let's pull back the curtain and unmask the 3 main culprits. So here they are. First, we've got the big one, the digital attention crisis, all thanks to our devices. Second, something called the paradox of choice, which is this weird thing where having too many options actually paralyzes us. And third, good old-fashioned burnout and mental exhaustion from, just living in the 21st century. This chart just lays it all out perfectly. Think about it. Netflix knows it has literally 7 seconds to grab you before you click away. News articles, they've been chopped down to 300, 500 words because editors know we won't stick around for anything longer. So how is a book, which demands hours of deep, quiet focus, supposed to compete with that? It can't. Our brains are being actively rewired for quick hits of dopamine. The author David Foster Wallace absolutely nailed it years ago. We've become so addicted to constant stimulation that being bored, being quiet, just sitting with a book, it feels wrong now. It feels unnatural. We grab our phones to fill every single empty moment, and boredom has become this enemy we have to destroy at all costs. Okay, next up, the paradox of choice. So in this classic study, researchers set up a table with 24 different flavors of jam. Shoppers were totally overwhelmed, and only 3% actually bought anything. But when they cut the options down to just 6 flavors, sales shot up to 30%. It's the same thing with books. With millions of titles just a click away, we get paralyzed. We browse, we sample, but we never actually commit to finishing one. And finally, we have our work lives. This term, the hyperactive hive mind, is just perfect. It's that nonstop flood of emails, Slack pings, and notifications that chops our focus into a million little pieces all day long, draining our mental batteries. And the result of that constant digital barrage? We are fried. A staggering 76% of people report feeling burned out, and that mental exhaustion is the enemy of deep reading. By the end of the day, our brains are so tired that zoning out to TV is just way easier than engaging with a book. Okay, so things seem a little bleak, right? We're all distracted, we're overwhelmed, we're burned out. It feels impossible to read. But, and this is a big but, this is where the story takes a really fascinating twist. Because while most of us are reading less, a very specific group of people are actually reading more than ever. It's a fantastic question, isn't it? If the busiest, most successful, most in-demand people on the entire planet are somehow making all this time to read, what do they know that the rest of us don't? What is their secret?
Well, the numbers don't lie. Warren Buffett, one of the richest people in the world, spends over 5 hours a day reading. Bill Gates knocks out about 50 books a year. That's basically a book a week. And a study on self-made millionaires found that a whopping 85% of them read at least 2 books every single month. They aren't just fitting it in, they are making it a priority.
And this quote right here gets to the very heart of why they do it. Reading gives you an insane return on your investment of time. Think about it. An author could spend a decade or even their whole life learning the lessons they put in one book. And you get to download all of that wisdom in just a few hours. It's the ultimate life hack. So for them, it's crystal clear. Reading isn't just some passive little hobby you do when you have nothing else going on. No way. It's an active strategy. It's a tool for growth, for getting new ideas, and for keeping a serious mental edge. It is a competitive advantage. Now for the good news, you can get that advantage back. You can totally rebuild your focus and find that joy in reading again. And it doesn't take some huge life-altering effort. All you need is a simple, practical playbook. So let's walk through it. All right, here's your 5-step plan. Step 1, start embarrassingly small. I love that phrasing. Don't aim for a chapter, aim for 1 page. The goal is just to build the habit. Step 2, read what you're actually excited about. Forget what you think you should be reading. Read that trashy sci-fi novel if you want. Third, make it feel nice. Create a little ritual, a comfy chair, a cup of tea. Make it a reward, not a chore. Fourth, and this is a big one, it is 100% okay to quit a book you hate. Life's way too short. And finally, step 5, try a tiny digital detox. Just putting your phone in another room for 15 minutes is a game changer. Because, at the end of the day, the point of all this isn't to just check books off a list or hit some arbitrary goal. The real goal is to rediscover that feeling of wonder, of getting completely lost in a story or a new idea. It's about making reading a source of genuine pleasure again, not just another item on your to-do list. So let's just forget about all the pressure and the statistics for a minute. Just think about that one book or that one world that you've been kind of curious about. I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. What story is waiting for you?